Mr. Dawanklo, this statement by the General Secretary of your party, what is going on?
Okay. So we take this one off.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Prophecy.
This matter, maybe I'll be like Pontius Pilate in this matter. But my General Secretary and my senior brother, the Honorable Fifi Fiabi Kwete, has never shied away from public comments, particularly those that usually don't rap very well with everybody.
That's right.
I remember last year an incident which happened. So we have had this NDC lawyers conference in Kumasi.
Sure.
And as the General Secretary of our party, we invited him, invited the national chairman, and some very prominent party members as well. And I remember in that meeting, my General Secretary sat by myself. In fact, he was in the middle of myself and the Attorney General, Dr. Eiii. So he was given the mic to share a few words with us. After he finished delivering his speech, I told him that, senior brother, next time I think I have to get you a written speech so that I will edit it before I give you the mic.
When he said there are some NDC lawyers who are cutting deals.
You remember that speech. And it became more of an albatross on, the party, and it was something. So on one of our platforms, when the issue came up, I said, look, if I knew that this is what my General Secretary was going to say, and that there was dynamite in the speech, I would have taken the mic from him. But that's my General Secretary, Fifi Kwete. He's never shied away, and he's always taken a gatekeeping role, even for the party. I want to believe that whatever it is that he said it in good faith, mindful of the fact that for a political party, there are shades of opinion. You see, the D in the NDC is democratic. Even in democracies, people are permitted to be mad.
Okay.
To express views that are completely extreme, sometimes even reckless. Permissible in democratic societies. The question is, could that same sentiment be expressed maybe differently, or a different forum, or possibly in-house? That possibility also exists. But you see, in all of this, the most important thing for me is, at the end, who is this thing about? It's about the personality and everything that President John Dramani Mahama has worked for. Starting as a member of parliament, January 7th, 1997, having become deputy minister, subsequently becoming a minister, becoming the ranking on foreign affairs for many years, becoming the flag bearer in the running mate in 2008, subsequently becoming president in July 2012, becoming president again, 8 years in opposition, finally president again. I do not know any living Ghanaian today with that level of experience, with that level of blessings from the Almighty God. It's important to say that in the next 100 years, only 25 Ghanaians out of 34 million will become president. And that even means that they are doing only 4 years. The more they do 8 years, the fewer the number that can ascend that hallowed office of president. And that is a unique thing that President Mahama comes to. You see, I always say that President Mahama, maybe arguably you call him a political Maradona. He knows some of these sentiments and clamoring will come up in political space, especially looking at his performance. So very early in the year, he's put out what his position is on the matter. He didn't only say it, he went to Singapore also, where he made the point. He said, look, I'm doing my 2 terms, and I'll go back to either Busunu or wherever to go and do my farming. He's put stop to everything. That is how quintessential he is. Smart. Because, look, when you have a high performer like President Mahama, you expect people to express this kind of sentiments. You can't take it away from people. In fact, nothing precludes people from having wild imaginations, including saying that, oh, a 3rd term is a possibility. Look, in the US now, Donald Trump openly said the questions about a 3rd term. And in fact, this constitutional lawyer in the US, Alan Dichosky or something, even went to the Dershowitz or something. Dershowitz made the point that the question whether a president who had had 1 term interrupted can do is a matter that the U.S. Supreme Court has not had the opportunity of examining. And
he's a Trump supporter, please.
Very well. Yes. But I'm saying that at least even in mighty United States of America, 250 years, these conversations are very ripe, even in the most advanced democracies. And so it shouldn't be anything different, especially so when we have handled this constitutional democracy for barely 70 years from independence, compared to 250 years. These issues will come up. These issues will come up. But what for me is critical is that the boss, the commander-in-chief, the leader of the NDC, has already put out his position in the matter.
And finished.
President Mahama is not a flip-flopper. It's not like some of the leaders we've had in the past without mentioning it. His yes is his yes, his no is his no. President Mahama is not the type who will be having a few moments later, like the Gen Zs now do, you know, where you say one thing and tomorrow you are saying another thing. He's made it clear. And you see,
trying to do that. It is
he's a very smart, I'm just rounding up, very smart at that, because he realized that as human as we are, people will come out with these views. And so he had to put stop to the clamoring right from the beginning and stated his position that what he needs now is a legacy mandate and to serve the people of this country to the best of his ability. Our General Secretary, possibly for want of a better word, could have expressed that same view, maybe differently. The concern people have possibly may do with the name calling. That in a democratic space, most likely you have people express their views. Does it necessarily make them maybe sycophants? Does it necessarily make them bootlickers? Maybe these are very genuine, and those people may not have any direct benefits, either by way of appointment or anything. But these are genuine sentiments on their part that, hey, we wish there's that continuity. But the president himself says, look, I have been the forefront of ensuring peace, stability within the West African space.
Yes.
Look, as we speak, all ECOWAS leaders have actually voted that in 2027, when the AU chairmanship becomes vacant, the entire West African sub-region is voting for only him to take that chairmanship. That overwhelming sense of confidence from his peers is not something that you readily get, but his stellar leadership qualities that has endeared him to the people. So, fair enough, our General Secretary has made a point, but the one who has the final say is President John Dramani Mahama, and he's made it abundantly clear that he has no interest. If you recall, when H. Kwesi Prempeh submitted the committee's report to him, H. Kwesi Prempeh said something quite profound on the issue of the third term. And that for me is significant. And President Mahama was smiling when he said it, clearly showing that he has no interest whatsoever in that conversation. That ends it.
Well, let me acknowledge the presence of Professor Bafo Ajimendua. He is a former senior governance advisor to the United Nations and then also a governance expert. Professor Bafo Ajimendua, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. Now, this matter of the third term, yes, the Constitutional Review Committee indicated it never came up. But then you hear the General Secretary of the ruling party being strong in his words on it.
Yes.
On the celebration of the 31st December and cautioning members within the party to desist from doing so, even though the person whom they're even advocating to has openly said he's not interested.
So, there are a number of things we need to clear on this matter. Number one, I think the Constitutional Review Commission was articulating the sentiments of the general or average Ghanaian by saying, please, this matter is not even up for discussion. But they were being presumptuous in that sense. They were acting as real neutrals, you know, trying to articulate the general view. But that argument is not over in NDC.
It's not over?
It is not at all over in NDC. Listen. So you have Kpebu to take a position because he wants to create a dam. He wants to block off something from becoming, you know, too big. All right? And I appreciate his point. But the reason why he has to use that level of force is because he appreciates the nature of the sentiment and how strong it is. Okay? People like Edwoa and Co will tell you that, oh, President Mahama himself has said that he will not, you know, do this. Let me tell you something.
But the matter has been put to rest.
Yes, he said that's why I'm coming to the next point. When it comes to third terms, everywhere in the world except Donald Trump, every president will say, I'm not going to go for it. Check. Recently, Mamadi Doumbouya, Guinea, he overthrew a president and vowed to his people that he will not run for president. Guess what happened? He resigned, ran for president, then, you know, sacked other people, you know, and then he got like 90% of the vote or so. Okay, this is the normal. You see, history is important. It's very important. So when you check the history of these things, even Kagame, who everybody expected was going to run for a third term, never really conceded on that till the very last minute. So the point I'm making is this one. That argument, that issue, that proposition, that debate is not over in NDC. There are people who are vowing. In fact, one of them told me that as long as there is a pathway within the law,
but
listen,
I see. Oh, yeah, conclude.
As long as there is a pathway within the law for a president to run for a third term, they will do it. But what it meant is that if you can amend the constitution for a president to run for a third term, then they will attempt it. And that they have please, listen. No, follow me.
An amendment.
Is there really a path?
So that's what I'm explaining. It says as long as. So question, is there a path? Yes. The path is an amendment of the constitution. An amendment of the constitution is not impossible when NDC has an overriding majority. Today, let me tell you something. The only person who can kill this matter is President Mahama. And unfortunately, I'm saying that even what he says now, except for the fact that I trust him as a person, his utterances now, giving history cannot be taken too seriously because everyone comes and says no. If today, behind the scenes, President Mahama set in place a system to have the constitution amended, they have what it takes to amend it. So to the extent that there are some people in NDC who are saying today that if there is a pathway to a third term, then they will attempt it. Trust me, that conversation is not over. So what we all have to do, Prof, you are here, is to send that subtle, and I say subtle because you can't force him, message to the president and also to NDC that look, Ghanaians have become very politically sophisticated. We have in 30 years become a mature democracy, which happens after many, many years. But in Ghana, we've become very mature. Let me give you an example. MPP used to have what they call, I don't want to use those words, but MPP members were not as loyal because they seemed to be the more enlightened people. They will speak their mind and they will vote how they want. It was a problem. Okay? And that is why you had the kind of election result you had today where MPP people abandoned their party because they were upset. It didn't used to be like that for NDC. Okay? Today, that thing has shifted. Those enlightened people have moved to NDC. What it tells you is that you don't have that mass of people who just do what you want, regardless. The kind of popularity that Jerry Rawlings had is not the kind of popularity that NDC is having right now. Now, if you have that situation, therefore, and you make some of these tactical mistakes of attempting a third term, you will lose the hearts of people. I speak as a Ghanaian. If I was speaking as an MPP member, I would advise President Mahama to try a third term.
Wow.
Because it will lose him such popularity. And it will damage the NDC. Because the nature of the NDC support has shifted. It's mine.
The man says,
let me finish my point.
From this advice.
I'm making my point. I repeat. I speak as a Ghanaian to say, given the kind of legacy President Mahama has built, okay, he should stick to what he said. But if I wanted something else, I would have advised him to try a third term because it will cause him a lot of collateral damage. Because the nature of the public, or the populace, or the voting public in Ghana has changed. A third term is extremely unpopular.
And that sentiment it sort of complements what the president himself has stated. And that's what Duju was talking about, that to the extent that the president has made this statement, in his view, it must bring the matter to...
But bring the historical...
but then you bring the
reflection to it, yes.
To it
always happens.
But Kpebu, you had indicated that you had indicated that
always happens.
That if for you, even this proposal of a 4-year increase to 5 years was an indirect third term being introduced or being proposed for that matter. Why is that?
Yes, so you see, right now the constitution is clear, right? We do 4 years, maximum 2 terms for a president. So for the committee to suggest that we should increase the 4-year term to 5 years, if you add the 1 year increment in each case, you get 2. So that's an indirect third term. It's giving you 2.5 terms. That's why I say it's an indirect third term. And so that's how come, a lot of Gen Zs on the net, etc., have come out strongly that they will not countenance that. Like we keep saying popularly, can you imagine Akufo-Addo in government for 10 years? Would have been dead by now. And don't think that Akufo-Addo is only one of his kind. Look at Bawumia lacing his boot to become president. Can you imagine Bawumia president of Ghana for 10 years? Yes, we'll be dead. Exactly. So please. Exactly. We will not make any mistake. Bawumia, president of Ghana for 10 years, this country will be Scotch F policy. Everybody will be dead. So please, let's not play with this. The recent governance of Akufo-Addo is a sharp reminder that don't do anything to this 4-year term. Don't do anything. You always find wolves who will come in sheep clothing, all right, or in a sheep's wool. Wolves will always come to governors, okay, in sheep's clothing. Then once they get in there, they will show their real character. Always remember, these people we are parading. As I've said, just because, no court of law has convicted any of the candidates, we can't say a lot of things. But things happen, and I'm sure we all know privately the bad things a lot of these guys that want to be president have done. And so it's an indication that when they get to that office, we'll be dead. So please, don't try anything. 4 years is 4 years. If you are good, look, after the 4 years, Ghanaians will say, look, we should find some space for you in this country to continue to help. To continue to help. And I've heard arguments that we need 1 year. Yes, I think last week, Kpebu was making that point about you need time to form a government. Look, our history says, and even before our history, the Supreme Court says that when you appoint a minister, the person should start acting. That's the case of J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General. Says you should start acting until Parliament is ready to invite him to come for vetting. Right? So what is this need for? You need about 1 year to form a government. When Addo came, didn't he announce his ministers within 2-3 days? Let's check. 2017. You see, he came quickly with the list. We've soon forgotten about that, and now we are clamoring for 1 year for appointments and then another year for campaign. It's neither here nor there. We are very clear. Let's go back to our history in the Constituent Assembly. When they were going to adopt the 92 Constitution, there was a vote on this 5-year term. And like we said last week, the 5-year term was roundly defeated, 128 votes against 85. Then number 2, when Fiajo's commission also sat, the feedback they got was that no way for 5-year term, it should be 4 years, and that whilst you are in opposition campaigning to become president, at that time you should know who you want to appoint as your ministers. So if you cannot do multitasking, then such a person is not even fit for president. If you can't do multitasking, we all multitask in life. So whilst campaigning, you should also select your ministers, etc. So the moment you win and you are sworn in, you announce them straight. We can't say come and sit in office and undo kukwasa for 1 year to go. Please, that's not on. Mr. Okanse, is that it? Do I have another minute?
No, so you've made the point on that. I don't want to bring in Prof. Bafo on this as to whether this Martin Kpebu's position on this proposal of the 4 years increased to 5 years. He says it's an indirect third term being introduced. And the sentiments around the third term conversation where Mr. Kofi Bento and lawyer Addo as well referenced the president's position on this matter and what some persons within the party are also saying, which indeed got Fifi Kwete, the general secretary of the party, to have to come out to address this publicly.
Well, thank you. First of all, term limitation in democratic governance is not magical. As to whether you do 4, 5, 6, it's not magical. One may want to explore the history behind why countries choose to place some limitation and how long, how many years they do. For instance, Liberia has 6 years, and I was there with them for 6 years, saw 2 of their elections when I worked with the UN. You can go in to find out why 6 years. France used to have 7 years, right? In fact, Britain has nothing at all. So far as your party wins the support of the public, no limitations. So Tony Blair could be there 13 or 14 years forever. So for me, I don't particularly stick to any particular thing. But I can also appreciate our recent history that is making some people resistant to that. But you see, you don't make laws on the basis of one individual's behavior. That's one I think you, the lawyers, can confirm that. You don't.
Ad hominem.
Yeah. You see, so if we are so angry with the past president for whatever he did, we should not use that as a yardstick to judge ourselves into the future.
That we are close to Martin.
You know, that I think is important for us to consider. The argument of he needs time to adjust and all, it may be interesting, but it's not strong. It's not strong, but it's very interesting. But I also want to say that if you are lucky to get the person you love, the person who is good, let me put it that way, as a leader, and that is why the clamoring for the third term seems to be seeping into our conversations. Because people at this point believe that the president has done very well and therefore deserves. Even though 3 more years, we don't know what's going to happen. And I pray he sticks to the path he's chosen. Because that would be good for all of us as a people, as a country. But again, I'm not going to look at that and say, let's give him an extra term. But I want to say that in very precise terms, the president has been very clear on that. And I do know the hypocrisy of politicians across Africa and elsewhere. Even if the United States is now talking about the 3rd term, that's also interesting. But we are not going to use that to guide our decisions in this country. Just a little advice from there. So, in effect, personally, it doesn't matter to me whether it goes to 5 or stays at the 4. But my personal preference will be the 5, and I have a reason for that.
Why is that?
If you take that in isolation, then you are facing the possibility of dangers, as my good friend has said. But you see, that proposal did not come in isolation. It came within a larger context. One, the fear that presidents become obnoxious or they become, what are the words? They become capricious, they
unleash terror.
Yeah, and all. Those fears have been mitigated by other proposals in the report, such as delimiting the powers of the president. Okay? Now, certain critical appointments that have been decisive in people's opinions about abuses and all, those powers seem to be going to be limited by the new proposal.
True.
Because if you change the appointments of these key positions, then certainly the president no longer will be the sole person to appoint the Chief Justice, the Electoral Commission, and all these other positions that we talk about. So I think we should take this proposal in a larger context. But as I say, I'm acutely aware of the arguments that you need a time. But as I say, that's not important. So frankly, I don't have a very strong position. I do not have a strong position whether to go to 4 or 5. But either way, it's fine for me.
I see, but there was a point that, I mean, the former President Kufuor made that proposal.
Yeah, in his last statement to the people when he was leaving office. It's true, he did make that, because for him, being there for 8 years, he felt strongly that it may not be fair for some other presidents to come in and quickly have to do this. So he thinks you take the first year to settle, 2 years you're seriously pursuing your agenda. After the second, third year, you're looking to the elections. And therefore the attention and energy, everything is diverted to that. I think that was the essence of his argument on that. But as I say, that argument can be deflated by other forces that all of us are aware. So it's nothing.
Just on that alone, the 4 or 5 years, like Prof has just said, there are good arguments both for and against. And I've heard both. All right, that is number one. Number two is that the thing is, I have always said, as others have also said, that governance is a continuum. Nobody can finish the task within even 10 years. So you must run the thing in such a way that somebody picks up from where you are and then continues. Now, that's a principle. That principle, even within parties, is not settled. It is not settled that President Akufo-Addo was going to continue everything that President Kufuor started. So, to the extent that we want that, it is an ideal that we haven't achieved yet. That's one. Then, a very, very important point is this. See, if our president or our government came into office prepared, if they came into office prepared, for instance, I don't know why you campaign for virtually 4 years, but you come into the office and you need 6 months to set up your cabinet. You should tell us during the campaign who you're going to pick. And indeed, they have those minds, but then the party political system kicks in. So the problem is, much as they should come in prepared, they don't. They don't come in prepared. And then when they come in, look, when you are seeking power, there's one thing, but when you have power, the dynamic changes. It changes so drastically. Everything really, really becomes different. So the things that you may have even decided to do, you already immediately find yourself in a situation where you can't do them. All right? So we have to admit that even though they should come prepared, they don't come prepared. And there are dynamics that work against them in that sense. Then there is this very important thing. Look, President Kufuor, in my humble opinion, is the best president we have had in this country, beside Kwame Nkrumah.
Kai.
I said in my humble opinion, I beg you.
Why? That's your view.
Exactly, my view. The man had just 8 years after virtually 20 years of dictatorship, and he was a very successful president. Now, for a person who has shown that level of competence and success, to come back and tell you that it is useful for us to go to 5 years, I would defer to him. So that some of what I'm saying is that there are arguments for and against. But when you weigh all of them, plus the very weighty recommendation of President Kufuor, who has been a very successful president under the circumstances, I think we should consider the 5 years as a better option. For this last point also, and here it is. The 5-year term removes every excuse. I don't see how any president can now come back and say, I didn't have enough time. It removes every excuse. So, one or no, add or not, leave it or add, I would say, given everything put together, let us just do the 5 years. And then we take out all the excuse.
Well, I don't want Andy Apakube on this quickly.
On this matter.
But let me acknowledge the presence of Daniel Yaw-Demelevo, forgive me. Is former Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana, a board chair of IOCO.
The man is chilling in France. I can see the Eiffel Tower behind him. Hey,
you have to come home.
Come home and let us suffer together.
Right. Alfred, thank you very
Good
much.
morning. Thank you for joining us.
Right. Thank you
very much. And good morning to your panel.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you very much.
We are
Tell them they are
inviting you to come
invited.
back
You
home.
can join me in Paris.
Yes, please.
Yes, Alfred. On this subject, I'm sure my colleagues have done very well on that, except that my position with Honorable Fifi Kote is just reiterating the position of the law, that it is not lawful for anybody to attempt a third term under this constitution. And that is the position that he espoused. And I support that position. And in any case, President Mahama has indicated that he is not in for a third term, and I want to congratulate him for that. And let us leave that matter to rest. Otherwise, what I would also say is that on the position of the term 5 years, I made my point clear that I support it because I think that we need to give the presidency more time to finish whatever, and because of the lingering interest in subsequent elections, people just get deviated along the line, so that it is better for us to have more time for him to complete his assignment. I will leave it at that and maybe introduce something new in respect of the vote of censure. The vote of censure as captured in the previous.
I'll let you come report. To that. But if you're going to another issue,
that is just one sentence. And the former report, the report of what's the name again, Professor Fiajo, and he treats it simply that the government should accept the recommendation that pursuant to the passage of the censorship vote, it must be mandatory on the president to enforce it, because if it becomes discretionary, then all the work done in Parliament will come to naught. And this is a constitution that has created also the Parliament of Ghana. And the Parliament to have come through screening, debate, and all that, having taken a position, the whole institution of Parliament, when it comes to presidency. So that is the pain we suffered in Parliament during the Ufuriata censorship.
I see. There are quite a number.
I haven't seen that in this new report, but I saw it in the Fiajo report. And the Fiajo report on page 18 says that it must be mandatory on the government when the vote of censure is passed. I will leave it at that, and I want us, when I have the next opportunity, to discuss Article 20.
Right.
And the rights of pre-acquisition owners.
Perfect. A number of messages says, good morning, Alfred. Those people asking for a 5-year term for presidency I haven't heard them talking about, rather putting our institutions in order. When you give a politician even 50 years, he or she would still ask for more years. Let's rather shape our institutions and put structures in place that would help them improve. That's coming from Dr. Twahine Asante. Thank you very much for your message this morning. Talk with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo also sends us a message this morning. It says, good morning. I differ in opinion with Musa Dankwa that the NDC has no one outside his selection of people. There's an NDC young person coming who will shock the entire nation. Mark my words. Talk with Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. Thank you very much for your message this morning. Maybe it is Doji Tamaklo is talking about, you never know. And he sends one about the constitutional review recommendations as well, which I'll get into shortly. But this one also here says that to the extent that we have seen some type of governance over the last years from 1992, in my view, we should tinker carefully with this idea of extending from 4 to 5 years. What that means is that if we have bad governance over a 4-year period, imagine it happening over a 5-year period. You'll see. Thank you very much for your message this morning.
What about if it's good?
Just your quick thoughts on this, Mr. Damolevo, on this specific proposal of this 4-year to 5 years extension by the Constitutional Review Committee in this report that they have just submitted to the President. Just your quick thoughts on this, please.
Well, thank you very much, and greetings to your panel again. In my considered opinion, the 5 years proposal is okay, is good. I'm looking at it from an accountant's point of view. Election is very costly, is very expensive to the country. Take 20 years, and that will have saved us an election. I hope you get me. In 20 years, we will have had 5 elections given the current scheme we have. But shifting to 5 years means that it will be 4 elections. In 40 years, we will have saved 2 elections. And if anybody is able to compute what it costs us for an election, it's a huge savings. That is one. But beyond that, to be honest with you, implementing any strategic plan for an organization requires some time. And like I think your panel might have addressed their minds to, when a new government comes in and now trying to familiarize, of course, they will come out with their manifesto when they're in opposition. They will do this, we will do this, they do this. It's only when they get into office, they get the shock of their life. Many of the assumptions that they made before assuming office are not real. And many things that they thought they can just do by talking cannot happen. So before they find their feet, the first year is gone. And so the second, third year, they are in operation. By the 4th year, their mindset is, how do we win the next election? So they don't get time to manage the economy well. So in my candid opinion, it's good, especially when the change is going to be endorsed or rejected by Ghanaians. It's not as if it has been imposed on us. I'm sure it is going to be subjected to a referendum. And if Ghanaians say that is what we want, who are you to say it is not good? So me, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lady Tamaklo, so as we round up on this particular one, quickly.
Okay, so because, you know, many years ago, I was lucky. I was recruited by Professor Atuguba to be on the Fiajo Commission. And so we went throughout the country. I did Greater Accra, you know, did all the coalition of the views on the specific issues. A report was generated. If you recall, President Mahama had set up the Professor Ibio Dankwa Implementation Committee. Just when the committee was just about finishing its work, there were aspects that needed to go to Parliament. Then the respected Professor Kpebu took portions of the work to the Supreme Court, challenging that process. By the time the Supreme Court finished its work, it was around 2015. The referendum could not happen because the EC had to do the 2016 election as well. Today, President Mahama is back. I think President Kpebu decided to do selective portions of the report, targeting the local governance portion, whether DC should be elected or, you know, so he basically messed the whole thing up. President Mahama is back, and there's a certain renewed effort on the issue of the Constitution review. My position is that this document is one of the endearing legacies of President Rawlings, and I strongly also think that a review should be fixing a mischief. Unless, of course, we identify the mischief inherent with the implementation of the 1992 Constitution, a wholesale amendment may come problematic, like an overhaul. And so I would urge caution in all these conversations. Two, because the government is yet to issue its white paper on the work done by Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, I want to hasten slowly and, and staking out my position on specific issues, because eventually if government comes out with this white paper, the white paper will give you the government policy position on the specific recommendations. And I do not want a situation where I misalign with the position of government on that verse issue. So I would, in the exercise of a bit of caution, say I want to await what the government white paper on the specific recommendations will be. And whatever position government takes, I would have to support that position. That's what I have to say.
Well, but then again, also, that doesn't mean that some of the issues that have been recommended in there.
No, I mean, if you talk about, say, for instance, 30 years thing, yes, as we speak, I mean, in France, there's a young man there, Jordan Bardella.
Yeah.
Jordan is on the verge of replacing President Emmanuel Macron, if you look at the numbers and how the numbers are looking. And he's barely 30 years old. If 21, I can represent a constituency. And if you look at the Constitution well, it says for a president, you must also be qualified to be a member of parliament. And so if 21 qualifies a person to be a member of parliament, my last check, then 30 should do. I tried reading. Yes, I'm just saying. Yes. I tried reading what happened in the Constituent Assembly when the decision was to peg it at 40 for the current arrangement. There was no scientific basis. There was no scientific basis. They just said.
Remember, we used to have it at 35.
No argument.
Really?
Yes. If you look at it, there was no scientific basis.
Nobody was an argument.
No, when I say argument, they just said, look, you see, if you look at the other clauses, for instance, Article 2, senior, the reason why they introduced Article 2 was the problem they had with the 79 Constitution, Tufo and Attorney General. Because if you recall in Tufo and Attorney General, the argument was raised that Tufo was a busybody, a meddlesome interloper. What is he doing in court? And so when the 1992 Constitution came, they cleverly put in there Article 2 so that it clothed everybody with the capacity to defend. Because then SOA and Co. had to come up with that legal concept of a community of interest with the Constitution itself. To avoid that happening, Article 2 was included in the 1992 Constitution. Even when Article 2 came, that argument again faced in MPP, IGP, Mensima, and the rest, when people now raise the issue of capacity, and the court roundly dismissed it, that the nature of capacity applies to both artificial and, natural persons as well. If you look at the Constitution broadly, our checkered history has always influenced specific provision, even including the removal of justices of the superior courts.
Okay.
Article 146. Those things were specifically dictated by our history in the past. And so I want to say that I would await the government white paper on the Eiii Kwesi Prempeh Committee's report, and that will inform our further discussion on the various matters.
Age limit.
Yes.
And I would want us to consider that one because it's a national phenomenon. As you age up to 80, 85.
But look at U.S.
so
Supreme
the
Court
ceiling,
judges.
but then
But
they
if you look
at
at
the
U.S.
entry.
if you look at U.S. Supreme Court judges, the very moment you are appointed onto the U.S. Supreme Court, you stay there until death do us part.
Oh, but that is...
I'm just
They want to
saying.
change it.
I'm just saying.
Thank you.
President Biden set up the Presidential Commission on the U.S. Supreme Court, and he came out with all kinds of recommendations.
Right.
The U.S. Constitution does not specifically limit the number of justices to 9. But over the period, convention-wise, they have kept it at 9.
Okay.
So sometimes you don't need
Thank you.
specific amendment to address,
But again, it is common
these
knowledge that
specifics.
even as you age beyond a certain level...
In terms of capacity,
capacity...
Of course, yes.
So
Okay,
I
so-
would rather we concentrate on the ceiling so that if you're coming in at age 75...
are you by chance saying that President Paul Biya is not doing very well for Kenya?
Okay, very well. Very well. Mr. Bento, quick one. Let me conclude on
75, for example.
Thank you very much.
You shouldn't start from
Thank you.
On the issue of the age, I've listened to people like Prof, and again, there are arguments for and against. And I'm going to derive my conclusion this way. Listen, at 25, all of us have been 25.
Yeah, before.
We have an adage in Akan, opening no being ebida.
Bofrade.
Abofrade. What it means is that you don't know how it is like to be older, but you know how it is like to be younger. At 25, you feel omnipotent. You feel you can do everything. And for the defense of young people, look, check Isaac Newton, the greatest genius who has ever lived. Check some of people like Einstein, all right? Geniuses do their best work before they are 30. You'll be surprised because you read about them later and then you realize how young they were when they did their work. What it means is there's some power in youth that we should not overlook. But having said that, when you hit 40, like most of us have hit, maybe apart from you, Alfred, when you hit 40, one of the things...
I'm 40.
Oh, fantastic. You look younger than 40.
Indeed.
See,
Okay.
one of the things that I realized, and I was very precocious at, younger, you have all kinds of ideas. But when you hit 40, you notice how immature you were at 25. And so those who haven't hit 40, you may not realize it. But then you realize that, Jesus Christ, I didn't know so much. I didn't have certain things that I needed to have. So when you say there's no scientific basis, it's people who have hit 40 who have realized these things, who know that it is not too safe.
Yes. So when we speak, you
a
should
country,
listen.
I beg, you don't know how I'll end though, so let me derive that. To put a country in the hands of, let's say, a 30-year-old. But all that being said, like I said, geniuses do their best work before they are 30. One. Number two, we also know that when you hit 40, 45 going down, you are too cautious. You don't take some risks. You don't make some tough decisions. You don't charge the way you would charge if you were young. In the country like Ghana, given the circumstances that we find ourselves, and my next decade will be 60. So I don't speak brashly. But I have said often that there is nothing in Ghana that should be run. Everything should be transformed. Everything. And you will hardly find anybody who is in their 50s who is looking to transform anything. To that extent, therefore,
President Mahama is seeking to transform the country. What
you
do
see,
mean?
he's seeking to transform
Yeah,
the country,
of course.
which is what President Kufuor wanted to do. In fact, everybody wanted to transform the country.
That's right.
My point is the energy, and with all due respect, because I'm going to use the term, the level of recklessness you need to be able to charge at certain... Look, some of the things that President Rawlings did, okay, some of them looked excessive, but they had to be done. Okay, I'm not talking about the killings and things, but I'm talking about some of the things that even didn't yield much, like getting the youth into the bushes to evacuate cocoa, you know, some of the things he did, we needed to do that for national mobilization purposes. People who are above 45 don't do those things. We are just too careful. I am arriving at a certain conclusion. Now, what it means is that I support the reduction to the 30.
From 40 to 30?
Yes, and I've given you my background. But this is the reason why. If you are 30, you are within that sweet spot between being careful and being youthful, all right? Where you would have the energy to take some hard decisions and do some wilder things that older people wouldn't do. That is one. Okay. Number two, nobody becomes president and runs the country alone. You have a whole cabinet to hold you back, to advise you, to guide you. So a person who is 30 is not just going to run the country up and then do whatever they want.
The person who's 80 may have advisors around him too.
Oh, yeah, but the 30-year-old will be the leader. So he will be more action, oriented. Then, note something. In this country today, with a mature democracy, with two parties leading, you cannot become president as an independent. You would have to come through the party system. If you are a 30-year-old who is able to convince your party through the party primaries to elect you above everybody else, you are special. If you are a 30-year-old who manages to get your party to elect you above everybody else to be a flag bearer, and then you manage to get the country to elect you as president, then you are special. And for that, we will be the losers as a country if we have such special 30-year-olds amongst us and we deny them leadership simply because of their age. Look, Alexander the Great conquered the known world before he was 30. So I'm saying that I support this thing, and I've heard you very well on it, but we should harness the power of youth. And my last point on this, the youth we have today are smarter than us.
Yes.
They are more exposed than us. They have had the benefit of better things that we had. Prof, you and I agree on that.
That one I
We have come a long way. But to our own benefit, we've raised our children better. So to that extent, if you have a 30-year-old who is exposed, who is knowledgeable, who is smart enough to get, his peers and his elders to vote him at a political party level to be their flag bearer, even when they have all these elders there, and manages to get the whole country to vote for him, that person is special. We will be the loser not to have them. So let's allow the 30-year-olds.
Yeah, of course, you always make very powerful arguments, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Prof. But then you have a different view.
Yeah,
Okay.
slightly different. I have made my position clear that the 30 is too low, the 40 is too high. I will peg it at 35. And the reason I say this, we are being impressed by what is happening elsewhere in Norway, and now France may have
stable systems.
But we forget the context of these two countries. In Ghana, by the time you are about 25, it used to be higher, but now let's say you get your first degree around 22, 23, maybe your master's degree by 27, I don't know. And unlike Europeans and even Americans, in college, they are already exposed. They are coming on trips all over the place.
True.
The educational system exposes them to so many interesting things. In Ghana, very few students have that opportunity to be exposed whilst in school. Okay? Those in the elite schools, they go, like Legonais, they go on summer holidays, but they go shopping or working a little bit and coming back. So my position is that at 30, you haven't acquired the exposure. Because look, ruling a country, you're talking about parliament. It's not the constituency. Today's global politics and the geopolitics in addition is not something you just come in with no exposure, no special preparation, no experience. Look, let me say this without any offense to anyone. When President Mills decided to induct very young people into government, we saw what happened. Most of them started doing their master's degree, using state time and resources, somewhere traveling to London every other month or so. Week. Week. And so on and so forth. And those who went to GIMPA had to spend time. And that tells you that, look, even at that age, and some were maybe 28, 29, 30 and thereabouts, they still felt the need to re-educate themselves and to be exposed. So my argument is 35 by 35. A young person will have hopefully acquired the necessary experience, the exposure and everything, and the maturity to manage a country like Ghana, the affairs of this country. So whilst I'm not denying, Kofi, your point about younger people being smarter than us, and I concede. In fact, what they do with the phone, if you ask me, all I know is you just call and receive calls, you know. But ruling a country is more than that. They may be serving those people you cited.
They are special.
Yeah. They are specially gifted. So if somebody invented something at 28, it doesn't mean that that person can rule a country. So I think let's make a difference between that. So 35, I think, is a very fair age to peg the limitation.
I see. There was a concern in the report that Lawyer Kpebu, and that leads us to the next aspect of the report you touched on briefly earlier.
Yes.
But this has to do with the declaration and publication of assets. The IMF in the 5th review report, point 58 on page 70, says that's an effective asset declaration regime for public officials is still lacking. And this is from the IMF report, and I'll tie that into what is in the Constitutional Review Committee's report. It said the draft conduct of public officials bill submitted to Parliament introduces improvements in scope, coverage, and sanctions regime, but the absence of any publicity requirements for senior officials leaves a critical gap in its effectiveness. Public disclosures is essential to deter illicit enrichment, strengthen public trust, and enable civil society oversight. Key pillars for effective anti-corruption frameworks. Without this provision, the regime risks becoming a compliance exercise rather than a meaningful safeguard against corruption. Urgently identifying and submitting to Parliament a constitutionally feasible option to implement this structural benchmark as close as possible to the original objective must be a priority for the final review under the program to ensure the regime's effectiveness in combating corruption. So this is an outstanding benchmark in the review, which the IMF says they expect government to actually meet before the end of the program in the next 3 months. The publication of assets as well. And they indicated that with their earlier engagements, government had indicated this was going to be dealt with by the Constitutional Review Committee. That was at a cabinet meeting. So if you check point 42 of the IMF 5th review report, they say that when this matter came up, the government representatives indicated that cabinet had taken a decision that the matter of publication of the asset declaration forms will be dealt with by the Constitutional Review Committee's work. We checked the Constitutional Review Committee's work, and at least for now, what we do know and what has been made public, it doesn't address it as has been put in there. That's a major issue for you in there, Kpebu?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a key issue for me. So as I christened it this morning, President Mahama has to consider that law the legacy of legacies. That must be it. That must be it. That is to say, the Code of Conduct for Public Officers must have a provision that allows for the publication of the assets once declared. So the mantra will be publish or perish. Publish or perish. Look at it. As I brandished earlier on, Rawlings declared his assets, PVOB, all of them. What happened? You hear arguments. Even in the Fiajo report, they went and told the commissioner, Eduje, that if they publish their assets, armed robbers will attack. Yes. And they said the same thing in Parliament in the 90s. You can Google it. CDD did a report on this same law, and that's why the parliamentarians said in parliament that their relatives, yes, that armed robbers will attack them. So when JJ, yes, exactly, when JJ, PVF, Obey, etc., all of them
for the house.
Can you imagine? Please, I think we should stop joking about this. You see, I like how Mr. Okanse has, read those portions, and we should allow TV3. You know, TV3 has been very, very consistent about this. You know, we did a symposium on it 2 years ago, and then last year, was it in November, we did another symposium on it, yeah? The lifestyle audit and, of course, asset declaration law. So at least in recent times, see that TV3 is taking a center stage on this matter. And I have consistently said that that would be the game changer to the fight against corruption. It will be the game changer. So Professor Bafo Duya sits here. If he declares his assets, and I live with him, let's say, in Nkwanta, and I find that, Professor Bafo Duya, you have 11 houses. You've come to declare 6. The remaining 4, why are they not on your declaration form? I would quickly then send an email to the Auditor General that this, quietly. Then Professor Bafo Duya will be called in. But if we don't do that, so that's to say, sunshine is the best disinfectant. If we don't do that, and we just say that the Auditor General should take and go and do verification. What verification? How many officers of the Auditor General would you have? So just look at it this way. We need 34 million watchmen as against 1 or 2 officers of the Auditor General as watchmen. No, we need the whole nation. Like the way in Ghana we say that there are 34 million Ghanaian coaches. So in the same way, we need 34 million watchmen because we need to crack this fight against corruption. And this is one of the easiest. Look, you go into our history. Let's go to the Jiage Commission. Eduji referred to Lawyer Pierre's this conviction a few weeks ago when Lawyer Pierre, by the way, by way of reminder, was a public prosecutor, right? Now, do you know how Lawyer Pierre was caught? When the Jiage Commission was set up, people went in the night, or let's say somebody put the evidence, his bank accounts in Barclays Bank, London, etc. They put it in an envelope, and when they put it in front of the Jiage Commission, their office, surreptitiously, that's what Ghanaians like most. Yes, that provide an opportunity. When he gets the opportunity, he will come and give the evidence quietly, anonymously. So when you put the assets online so that people can check, can you imagine? They will get the information and they will give Auditor General information anonymously. Then these people can be taken on. But if you hide the declarations, then you've done nothing. That's why I say IMF, of course, we are telling the IMF we are not happy with what they did. We told them from the beginning that they should have made this particular law a condition precedent. You know, the IMF today have a lot of politics. You know, they are also in business. So IMF makes money when we go to them.
No,
so it's like
a loan.
Yes, and
what
it's business for them.
Bailout is a loan.
It's a loan, and they make money.
Yeah,
and when they
charge interest on everything.
Thank you very much. And you remember in the 80s, in the 80s, Prime Minister Manley of Jamaica, and then also they came together and said, look, let's form a new set of institutions, a new bank to help developing countries. Then Prime Minister of UK, Margaret Thatcher, and then Reagan came together and torpedoed it. They said, no. Let IMF and these other Bretton Woods institutions continue. And you see, they've been on our necks. We are never getting out. You see, so the fact that they couldn't make this asset declaration law a condition precedent, I saw through their politics. You know, we mentioned it here. Look, IMF, you have to stand up. You have to stand up. This politics, it won't get you anywhere because the more you do this, then the more we see that you are really not here for our interest. You're here for your interest.
Mr.
You should have done this a long time ago.
I see. Mr. Demelovo, on this one, this particular aspect of the IMF report,